Hello and welcome back to The Next Act. I'm your host, Keaton Hall, and my guest today is quite the character. Literally, his job is an actor. He's appeared in plays, music videos, performances at Universal Studios, and in TV shows such as ABC's The Rookie and FX's Dave. Ladies and gentlemen, Brett Schaberg. Brett, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Dude, my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's you and your brother were two of the guys that I wanted to reach out to and get on this show at some point. So I'm glad it worked out so soon. But I'm very excited to kind of hear your story since our time in high school, since you've been up to a lot the past few years. So I'm going to start kind of close to the beginning. So in your first act, kind of as a student, you grew up acting in plays, running track, and being one of the most creative people that I knew at school. What piqued your interest in acting more than the other things you were involved with?
It's kind of hard to say. You know, it's one of those things that's just like, it's just it. Like, like how I got into it was like 8th grade. You know, we went over to see like the high school teaser for the play they were doing, or the musical, and it was Oklahoma.
Okay.
This one guy in particular was a jock, but he was the lead in the show.
Mm-hmm.
He comes out on stage singing, "Oh, what a beautiful morning." And I'm like, wow, this guy's awesome. Like, he's so cool, and he's doing, like, performing. People think it's cool. Little did I know that wouldn't be the case for me. But but like it was just like awesome. I want to try that. And we had done like little stuff here and there, but like nothing big time by any stretch.
Right.
So yeah, we just like, I'll speak in the terms of me, not my brother. So I really wanted to do it. I auditioned my freshman year and got in the show, Into the Woods. And I was just like, this is it. Like, I love doing this. I love being on stage. I love the reaction. I love the people involved, like just the process of doing it. I just loved it. And then from then on, I was like, this is it.
Just kind of hooked.
Even though, yeah, there was just like there's a long journey from that point till now, obviously. But like, in terms of knowing that I wanted to do it, it was like nothing else. Like,
That's
I
great.
loved doing sports. I loved, obviously track and field was like the only one I really committed to through high school, and I loved it.
Right.
But
you were fast too.
You know, by junior, senior year, you know, when myself and my brother and us older guys were like the top tier of the team, we made it clear. I was like, Coach, I'm making my show. Like, this
Right.
doesn't come first. So yeah, that just took priority because it's just, I found what I wanted to do.
That's great.
And I'm very grateful. Like, obviously not a lot of people find out that early on.
Yeah, a lot of people don't find out really ever. And so having that clarity at such a young age, you know what I mean? Having that clarity at such a young age is huge.
Yeah, and that's something like, you know, now, you know, past the college age, not to age myself because I can play 18 still. But we, you know, it's like, it's definitely, I'm not surrounded by people because most people out here are kind of in the same business. But, you know, I'm well aware that people from high school or college are still trying to figure stuff out, and that's totally fine. Like, that's
absolutely,
like, it's everyone is on their own journey, and that's like the most cliche thing ever, but it's so true. It's like,
so true.
As much as I would love for certain people to, like, I know what you're good at, I wish you would just commit to it. That's not my decision to make. So
right.
I leave that to them, and I trust that they're growing and getting the experiences they need to figure out what they want to do. My light just died, but that's fine. We're going to keep going.
No, that's a great point. I mean, it's very easy to get caught up in comparing yourself to other people that you were in the same class with, same age, and seeing how all of us are kind of at different stages in our lives. 'Cause, I mean, we have friends that are married, have kids, and then I don't know about you, but that's very far away from where I'm at right now. But it's just
Yeah.
all like you said. It's the journey, but a lot of the cliche things are cliche because they've been said so many times because they're true. Um,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
so it's very interesting and kind of cool to see how all of us kind of have gone our different ways and see what people actually go and do after high school. So it's no, that's a
Dude,
good answer
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, it's a blast to watch everyone doing whatever they're doing. And it's like, sweet, like rock on, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. No, for sure. So would you say that I guess you would say that your interest in acting was kind of a more of a specific moment in time instead of being deepened and developed over time. But are there things that you've kind of fallen in love with as you've acted more and more?
Yeah, I mean, I think just the natural progression of doing something you love is to just fall more in love with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like each successive play or musical I did in high school was like just reaffirmed how much I loved it. And then going into college beyond that, like learning the nitty gritty of what acting was, because like by all accounts, I really didn't know what I was doing in high school. I thought I did. I like loved what I was doing, and to some extent, I'll give myself some credit and say like there are natural instincts that I had
For
to
sure.
be the actor that I was
Definitely.
in high school, but like college changed the game for me. I learned technique and like just different methods of acting and how you use your body and language and all this stuff like opened up, and I was like, man, this is even cooler than I thought it was. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just the progression of that is just like you can't help but fall more in love with it if that is in fact what you're meant to be doing or want
Mm-hmm.
to be doing, right? If it wasn't, you'd find out pretty early on. It's like this isn't for me,
Right.
but here I
No, that's
am.
no, that's awesome. I definitely agree with the details and kind of nuances of each kind of craft that you have that you only find out as you continue to go more and more deeper and deeper into that craft, and the better you get at it, like you said, you're just improving every single one. And then there's so much behind the scenes that go into a good performance, and I'm sure that's all the stuff that you learned, just the little things here and there that are subtle but make a huge difference. So no, that's very cool to see kind of the mentality and just the little things behind that. So no, we've gotten the laid the groundwork for your first act. Now, after graduation, tell me about your decision to pursue career in acting instead of going the traditional kind of college, get a degree in XYZ kind of departments.
Yeah, yeah, and that's where it got more interesting, obviously, because I went to Western Michigan University, which has
Mm-hmm.
a phenomenal acting program,
Yep.
theater, musical theater, theater tech, like all across the board. They create amazing artists and or cultivate and make a strong foundation for theater artists in
Mm-hmm.
general. So I auditioned for that program and I didn't get in, and that was a moment of like it could have been a moment if I was a different person to be like, well, this is it. Like I didn't get in. Bummer.
Naturally.
But I wasn't raised that way, and I knew my potential, and I knew the talent I did have,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew that that audition was just not uh, representative of the talent that I had. I knew it
Right.
was a bad audition. Like I go back to there every once in a while. I'm like, man, that was awful. What was I? How did I ever expect to get in with that? And so just by knowing that I was gonna do it no matter what. Like this was what I wanted to do. I wasn't gonna let that stop me. And then people at Western being like, you know what, just stay involved in the program, stay involved in the plays and whatnot. Take some classes that you can do as a non-major, and by the end of the year, it'll be like you've been a part of the program all along. And
Mm-hmm.
that turned out to be true. By the end, people were like, "You weren't already in the program?" I'm like, "Yeah, no, it was. I auditioned and it was awful. So, but now I'm in." And at that point, my brother was moving out to L.A. We had talked about that. I wanted to move to L.A. We had this conversation with a friend who had been in L.A. for a long time
Mm-hmm.
and had done the acting thing and does the acting thing, and he inspired us. I was like, LA is it. It was this transformation from theater back in high school and even starting into college is that theater was the route I wanted to go. And then he opened my eyes to the world of TV film, and I was like, sounds good. I'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I got into the program. My brother had done the program for a year already. He's like, I'm out. I'm like, I would love to. I really would. But I just need this. I need a year of getting a baseline of foundation in acting. Like, I learned how to act my technically second year of college, first year in the program at
Mm-hmm.
Western. And without that, I wouldn't have lasted. I don't want to say I wouldn't have lasted out in LA, but it would not have gone nearly as well. It's like I needed that time to work as an actor and work and just grow like apart from my brother, because I'm a twin brother. You know,
Mm-hmm.
nobody knows that because we haven't mentioned it yet. We're
It's
twins.
true.
We've been together for at that time 19 years together, living together, doing everything together because we all have all the same interests. So it was
Mm-hmm.
like it was a good time for him to move to LA, me being back in Michigan, and like
Definitely.
just like not creating our own identities because we already had, but like
Mm-hmm.
just to have some, some a breather from each other.
No,
So
absolutely.
for a lot of reasons, it worked out really well. Um, that I
That's great.
stuck around,
That's
and
great.
then by the end of that, yeah, I don't want to progress too far out of the conversation. But
No, definitely. I mean, that whole idea of it wasn't that you guys didn't have your own identities, because you absolutely did, but it was getting outside of that comfort zone that you had known your entire life. So
mm.
what was one of the biggest things that you learned about yourself after you had that kind of separation and were outside of that comfort zone, and something that you hadn't really experienced before during that year in the program?
Hmm. It's a good question. I mean, I it really opened my eyes to my kind of the unintentional or unconscious limitations I put on myself as an actor.
Mm,
Because I think, not to toot my own horn, but I feel like I was a fairly well developed individual at that point, like
definitely.
in terms of who I wanted to be. And I know that I definitely didn't reach that standard that I always had set for myself. But I knew generally I was a good person. I didn't get caught up in drama. I didn't get caught up in really any superfluous, quote unquote, like stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but definitely as an actor, when your professor is like drilling into you, is like you're laughing in this scene because it's making you uncomfortable, and that's the way you're coping with it. And I'm like, huh, I never really thought about it like that.
Right.
And so that that and many other things led me to dig deeper and like, all right, when you're acting, you're really, and one of our acting professors put it amazingly, is you're consciously doing what people do unconsciously. That's your job as an actor,
Hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
you need to think about this and be like, all right, so what I would do unconsciously, just like in my everyday life, how I would react to something, how I would try to get something I want, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
I have to process that and do it consciously, but make it look as natural as possible so that
Right.
nobody would ever know,
Huh.
right? And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it really again taught me what acting was,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
and that allowed me to just become a better actor and the actor that I needed to be prepared to come out to LA.
Definitely. No, I think that that's a great kind of thing that you were able to be shown by your professor, because a lot of times I feel like there's things that we do that we're blind to because, I mean, we can't see it ourselves. But then as soon as we have someone that we trust that knows more than us to be able to point out, hey, you're doing this way because of this. And so once you get to the root of that, then you can really change it and improve it to a point where it's not an issue anymore. But definitely want to commend you for sticking with it that extra year and not kind of going back to what was comfortable after one, you didn't get in at first, but then maintaining that resiliency and then being able to stay there. And it just, like you said, it's helped you flourish to the opportunities you've gotten to today. And I feel like that's a great lesson to have learned so early on, because now you're going to be able to recognize situations where, hey, I might need to stick with this a little bit longer in order to become the person I need to be to overcome this. So definitely want to commend you for that and recognize it, because like that's something that not a lot of people do. Not everybody does. So you should definitely be proud of that.
Yeah, thank you. And that's just, that's life, is
Mm-hmm.
being able to take criticism, to learn from other people you respect, and just like generally, sometimes what people say isn't going to be helpful to you,
Right.
but to be able to take it anyway and say thank you, but not necessarily you don't have to implement that,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
right? You can respect what they say, you can hear what they say without needing to necessarily change or do anything, or you can be like, yeah, you're right. I absolutely need to do that if I want to be a better actor, a better salesman, a better whatever.
Right.
So,
Yeah, without a doubt. So we know kind of your journey there, but once you made that decision to actually go out to LA, there's naturally a lot of uncertainty that comes with moving across the country into an industry that isn't the most secure and like consistent thing in the world. So what was something that you did or something that helped you kind of deal with that uncertainty going into that journey you're about to go into?
um, again, from an outsider's perspective, it definitely is, and I totally can see how it's perceived as a big jump. But I think a lot of it was like I had spent every summer from 2005 to 2017 at camp for at least 4 weeks
Mm-hmm.
or seven.
Mm-hmm.
7 for the majority of that,
Okay.
or 8, depending on if I was a counselor that year. So being away from home wasn't a big deal for me. Being around other people wasn't a big deal for me because it was just the same community I knew all my life, but just in a different place.
Mm-hmm.
And then my brothers, like my oldest brother is 11 and a half years older. He was out of the house when I was pretty young. So I was used to like being separated from family in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot of factors led to it being a pretty easy and comfortable decision in terms of like I didn't have a problem moving out. I was going to miss the friends. I was
Of
going to
course.
miss Michigan just
Mm-hmm.
because Michigan's the best.
Of course. Yes.
Uh, and then it was I did have family out here in California at that time. I moved this summer. My oldest brother moved back to Michigan with his family,
Okay.
and then like the year or two after, my other brother and his wife moved back to Michigan. So I kind of like alienated everybody again. But
You just flip flopped.
yeah. So I felt comfortable with that, and then I did have my brother out here, my
Mm-hmm.
twin brother. Uh, so it was granted a little rough moving back in with him and being like, oh, sharing a room again. Yeah, woo.
Just like old
Hurting.
times.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it was like I didn't have anything tying me in Michigan
Mm-hmm.
beyond the friends, and you can't make decisions based off other people,
Right.
obviously.
Yeah. No, I
So
definitely can agree with that.
yeah, it was just like it was time to go. I knew what I wanted to do. I had a clear idea of the direction I wanted to take my career and my next step. So or next act rather.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, let's do it.
No, that's
So
great.
I came out here with a little bit of savings that goes pretty fast out here, and
Right.
and then was just ready to do it.
No, that's great. It sounds like you were pretty prepared in order to take on that kind of new life with a lot of uncertainty, because I mean, in our 20s, there's obviously a lot of uncertainty from not knowing, but then there's also a lot of excitement because your future is not set and you have the ability to go and create like you are doing right now, which is awesome. So,
Yeah, definitely. And like real quick. Like I said, I listened to the first podcast episode, and how what's your face? Julie? What's her name?
Jade.
Jade. That's
Mm-hmm.
the one. I knew it started with a J. Because you guys are both religious as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that trust that I would be in my right place, and that if I felt I want and needed to go out to LA,
Mm-hmm.
if I went out there, it wouldn't be wrong. And
Yep.
or if it was, I would know that and be led wherever I needed to go.
Mm-hmm.
So
Just taking that leap of
definitely that
faith.
foundation too. Yeah, it's like, yeah, like I said, a lot of things previously in my life led me to be comfortable to make that decision and trust in God to know that I'll be in my right place.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great. That is definitely something I can relate to as well. But what was one of the biggest adjustments you had to make during that kind of transition period between when you decided to move out and then when you actually got your first gig?
Definitely working for a living was not something I was used to. I had a very privileged upbringing in that sense of like my parents didn't make me work in high school. They didn't expect me to get a job and
Mm.
all right, once you're off school, go to your dishwashing job at the local
Right.
diner. It's like it was very much they were providing a foundation in an area for me to do what I wanted to do because
Mm-hmm.
they knew that would allow me to grow, to lead me where I wanted to do what I wanted to do and be able to be successful at whatever it would be.
Right.
So the transition of like, all right, you got to pay your bills, you got to do all that was like, all right, it was a challenge. Not that I didn't learn how to work hard,
Right.
because
Right.
I
Naturally.
definitely did learn all those valuable skills between just a good upbringing and being at that summer camp. But putting that into practice was something new for me. Working a weekly job or whatever. Gratefully, I've been able to work like super fun, not real jobs
Uh-huh.
for the most part while I've been out here, which is just like ideal for me because I just don't want to work in
Definitely
as a
makes it easier.
waiter or like the classic kind of thing. And I think there's something to that of like setting a standard for yourself of like, if you don't want to work in a certain realm just because like it's gonna be grueling and just awful, don't
Mm-hmm.
do it.
Yeah.
Find a way to work in the capacity that you want to work in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be a challenge, and sometimes you will have to take the L and like
Right.
work a dishwasher job for like a little bit just to make sure you're paying rent.
Mm-hmm.
But like as soon as you are able, like get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like do not get stuck in something, and don't think that that's the only way you can pay the bills, because there are
Right.
a million opportunities anywhere you are to do something more fun
Right.
to make money.
Right. Well, especially in today's day and age where you can create your own job at some points and then somebody, if you're good enough, will pay you to do it. But
Yeah.
just kind of that concept of working while you wait. You're willing to put in the work to sustain yourself while you're continuing to develop yourself and then find what's going to fulfill you in a job and career, but without getting complacent and just kind of stuck in that rut of that job that you don't really enjoy. No, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So now moving on to your next act that you're currently in. What does hard work look like now at this point in your acting career? Like what's something, because to kind of give that a little bit more context, for me, in my first act of basketball, I knew what hard work was. It was going to the gym, getting up shots, getting in my lifts on time, going to practice early, staying late, getting film in. So what does that kind of look like for you, the hard work aspect of it now as an actor?
Depending who you are, it doesn't look like much. Because, and granted, I can make excuses for like not making my own stuff, but for the work I want to be doing is the bigger things, is TV, is film,
Mhm.
are these opportunities uh, that I just can't really do on my own.
Right.
I could put in the work to write a script and get people to, I know people who are camera ops and cinematographers and directors and writers, yada yada. I could do all that. That's just not where my passion is.
Mhm.
And granted, like, I probably will at some point, just if I get too tired of sitting around doing nothing. But like, so much of it is hurry up and wait in this industry.
Yeah.
I've again very grateful that I have a team of a manager and an agent submitting me on projects. So they do a lot of the work on that side of things.
Mhm.
Making sure I can get auditions and get in the door for these casting directors or whoever
Mhm.
it might be.
For sure.
So my day to day is like just making sure I'm, just like any sport, acting is a muscle.
Mhm.
You need to keep it flexible and keep it strong. So just like, making sure I'm on top of that is a lot of the work,
Yeah.
which again isn't the most grueling labor of all time, but it's important. And
Mhm.
because you can have so much time between auditions, let alone working,
Right.
uh, if you're off your game for an audition that comes up, like I had a year basically where I wasn't auditioning at all,
Wow.
and that's like not even a lot. I have friends who have gone years without auditioning,
Mhm.
or maybe not just auditioning, but just not booking work at all.
Mhm.
So to go a year without really auditioning at all, and then an audition pops up and you're not ready for it,
Right.
you've just thrown away an opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and yeah, just treating it all like no, like having the expectation that the opportunities will come,
Mhm.
because that's really important. It's again knowing and trusting in God, knowing that it's like I'm not doing this for nothing.
Right.
The opportunities will arise. The perfect one for me is out there and will be there. And
Mhm.
I've been grateful enough to book some stuff to prove
Right.
that.
Definitely.
But yeah, it's really nothing I can complain about. Definitely, like working hard is, again, just like
It's
I could
relative to
probably
what you're
read more
doing.
plays. I could read more scripts. I could film my own content.
Mhm.
It's just
No,
it's just
I
not for
guess,
me. And
no, I mean, I guess a better way that I could have framed that was in this industry, like you said, it's hard to kind of work hard per se, just because you don't know what that next kind of role will be. So how can you adequately prepare for it until you know? So I guess I should have framed it as what you're doing to stay ready, like you said, for those next auditions. So you're staying sharp on top of your game. You're able to have those instincts naturally, like you said, that you have to consciously do the unconscious. So
yeah.
that's partially on me for framing it that way, but you still managed to
No,
answer
no, no.
it. You still managed to answer it really well. So good for you on that.
No, yeah, no, it's all good, and that's kind of been a problem maybe not a problem, but just like something I've been working on since I've been out here is like, all right, because you can feel like you're not doing enough. It's
Mhm.
very easy to get in that space when
Definitely.
you're not getting auditions and you're not working, and like that's all you want to do.
Mhm.
So it's easy to be like, it's hard to take a step back and be like, all right, what could I realistically be doing actually? Like,
Mhm.
is there anything I can do right now to further my career?
Right.
Most of the time, there's not really much.
Right.
So
It's tough.
you just need to like take a step back and be like, all right, I'm just going to be ready for when something does happen.
Mhm. Yeah. No, that is a great way to approach not only your career as acting, but just being ready for any opportunity that comes your way in life in general as well.
Exactly.
No, I like that a lot. So, what was something that you were able to develop in your life in your first act that helped you develop your identity as an actor or creator? Like, was it trying to have the best range? Was it trying to be the best, like the most creative? I know you do a mean Gollum impression. I know you're good at other impressions as well. But what's something that you were able to kind of consciously put into your identity as an actor.
Yeah, unfortunately, that hasn't really helped out with any jobs yet, but it's coming. Um, I definitely the confidence, uh, building up that confidence, just knowing what I'm capable of,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that's not, that is a recognition of the higher ego,
Mm-hmm.
rather, or at least I hope to for that to be a recognition of the higher ego, being God,
Mm-hmm.
um, and just like it's just really about just genuine self knowledge, like knowing what you're capable of, whatever it is. As a basketball player, you knew you were good enough to play college, so you
Mm-hmm.
did, and you
Right.
went and you played and you were captain. You did great things, I'm sure. I regret to say I wasn't able to see any of that in
Oh,
person.
it's just circumstances happen.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, it's just like being confident, and it's not saying I'm better than everyone else. It's not saying I'm above it all.
Mm-hmm.
It's hearing those compliments coming in as a high schooler who, admittedly, I again didn't know what I was doing, but they were telling me you were great, and it's being able to say thank you to that,
Mm-hmm.
not to say oh you're so kind. You don't have to say it. It's
Right.
thank you. That's recognition that you're doing a good job,
Right.
and so building on that foundation was like, again, going into college, even though I didn't get in, it was because I knew I was good.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I was good enough to be there.
Right.
I just had to prove it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, that
and so,
self-awareness.
yeah, yeah, self-awareness, and to get back to your question, just trusting I'd be where I need to be, and just knowing that, like, as long as my priorities of my relationship to God and my relationships with my family and just like what I'm striving to do every day is in line with a higher purpose and just being a light to other
Mm-hmm.
people, like the other stuff follows and just flows naturally.
Definitely. No, I like that. The self-awareness of knowing that you're good enough allows you to have confidence and go act upon the things that are in front of you and the things that are there for you to take. Absolutely. And I mean, I see a lot of people, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of people too, that have the skills, that have the ability, but they don't have the confidence to go and perform and show others and give others what they have to give. And a lot
Yeah.
of times it's not selfish to be confident. I mean, there's obviously a line between confident and cocky, and then there's a fine line that you can walk for sure. But I feel like confidence in itself, in its purest form of knowing that you have this ability, and like you said, if you connect it with purpose and are able to go and use that to serve others and serve yourself at the same time, like that's where a lot of good happens.
Yeah, and like that's getting into, the imposter syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
and like that is common in all walks, but like, man, especially you hear these big time actors who are by all means amazing,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like, every time I book a job, I get on set, I'm like, oh, I don't even know what am I doing here.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
I don't know
crazy
what
to
I'm
think
doing, and
about.
you're like, what? What are
Uh-huh.
you talking? What do you mean? And it's like mind blowing to think people go through that. Like Gary Oldman, he was talking about one of the projects he did in the last like 10 or 15 years, and he said he got on set and was like, he totally was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh my
I
gosh.
need to tell someone. I can't do this. I'm like, you're Gary Oldman, man.
Right?
You like so and I've never had that. I'm like,
That's good though.
especially yeah, and I'm very grateful for it. But like, just in anything you're doing, if you are there, if you got a job, if somebody wanted you to be a part of your friend group, if somebody wanted just to hang out with you, you were there for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, they saw something in you that was worth reaching out and asking you to be there. So you're meant to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Don't question yourself. You can always grow. You can always push yourself to be better.
Right.
That's just like the best way to be,
Mm-hmm.
is to know that what I am right now is is perfect for where I'm at, but that doesn't mean I'm not chasing something better.
Exactly. Exactly. It's not becoming complacent with who you are and where you're at, but it's being content while you continue to pursue getting better and creating that better
Yes.
life, without a doubt.
Yeah.
No, I like that. So I think kind of talking about success in varying degrees, and I think everybody, if you ask them, they'd say, "Yeah, I want to be successful." And it's obviously something great to have that ambition, but a lot of times it's hard to define what success actually looks like at different stages of our lives. So, how would you define success for you in this stage of your life right now?
See, so there's two sides. There's life
Mm-hmm.
success and there's career success.
Definitely.
Career success, not having to work jobs in between acting.
Mm-hmm.
I can just acting is my main source of income. I don't have to worry about paying rent. I don't have to worry about all that other nonsense. To just make a living off acting is the dream. Not
Mm-hmm.
to be famous, not to win this award or that. I just want to I just want to do what I love and make money doing it, right?
Absolutely.
And then life success is obviously meeting the love of my life, getting married, having a family,
Mm-hmm.
uh, just like having kids and nurturing them, and just there's so much to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's just
That's true.
so
There's so much.
so much good to come.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Absolutely is.
and just every day making sure that I'm not just being idle, doing nothing, whatever it is I'm doing. Like if I'm not acting, I can still be reading more. I can still be
Mm-hmm.
uh, getting out and spending time outside and with friends and all these different things. So like success is obviously just there's so many different aspects to success. So, but
Mm-hmm.
career success definitely just like booking a show and
Definitely.
making way too much money for it, but like not having to worry about because financial stuff is like I don't I don't even like having stuff. Like sure I've got my Xbox, my TV and all that.
The
But like
basics.
beyond these things that are like just just entertainment and fun, it's like I don't like having stuff. I just don't want to worry about paying the government money. I don't want to worry about paying off my student loans.
Mm-hmm.
I want those done and
Yeah.
gone and then to just be able to provide for my family one day.
Yeah.
So,
No, those are great aspirations to have, and it definitely looks like success to me, without a doubt. So, talking about kind of the shows that you kind of touched on a little bit, you have been on some pretty major network shows so far, although they're not the roles that you aspired to be at yet, but they're still there. So, what are some of your favorite kind of memories or things that you've learned from being on those sets like that?
man, it's just so much fun. It's I wish everyone could experience whether they love acting or not. Just like, and I'm sure they do in their own respective fields of, whatever it might be. Making, the NBA one day for the guy who wants to do that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
all these things are like, man, it's just the best.
Yeah.
So I've had so many fun experiences working with just like amazing people. The first music video I ever did, I worked with this artist Sam Martin, who's been a songwriter for 15 plus years now, I think, and
Mm-hmm.
he was doing his own first album, and just getting to work with him. He's like, yeah, I wrote this song called Daylight for Maroon 5, and that was kind of what started my career. I'm like, you
Sure.
wrote that song?
Right?
I'm like, that
Oh
song
my
was like
gosh.
huge for me at
Right.
one point in time.
Wow.
And I'm just like hanging out with him, and he's awesome, and I got to work with uh, a lot of people seem to know her. I knew of the movie she was in. It's called Step Up 2. She's the lead in Step Up 2.
Okay, yeah,
She
yeah.
was like she was like playing my girlfriend in
That's
this.
awesome.
I'm like, what the heck? This is so cool. And then yeah, I mean just so many fun projects. I met one of my best friends out here on the first short film I did. So that was invaluable. I met one of my best friends again on The Rookie,
Mm-hmm.
my first television appearance, which was huge. Like, and you just learn there are so many good people everywhere
Yeah.
in any industry. Like, like my first day on set on The Rookie for ABC. I'm on the Warner Brothers lot, and the year before I was working there in a different capacity for like some Halloween event, and I was like, I'm gonna work here soon. I'm gonna be acting on this lot.
Love that.
Within a year, I was there. I was like,
Love that.
let's go. So I'm on lot. I'm working there in a studio, Soundstage 22. The director of that particular episode directed some of my favorite episodes of Smallville, which is like
Nice.
my favorite show of all time.
Nice.
So I got to work with him. I got to work with Nathan Fillion, who's like, I mean, everyone pretty much knows who he is. He's a legend. He's
Right.
just the kindest guy, so cool.
That's great.
And like you just get to work with these people who are just so good at what they do, but they're just good people,
Mm-hmm.
right? And yeah, just continual stuff like that. Just every project has been so fun. Even even one project that was a nightmare was like I was in it with a group of friends at least, so like we were able to enjoy the 12-hour midnight to noon shoot that we were doing. So
Right.
it was yeah, and then obviously this year was huge, or it's 2022. Last year was huge.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was the first big thing with my twin brother that we did for TV.
That was great.
And then a few months later we did another thing together for another TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just wild, and like, and those are like the steps I've been waiting to take since I've moved out here.
Mm-hmm.
And just being able to check those off the list is just
I feel
nothing
great.
feels better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I like that a lot. That's definitely, I mean, you mentioned the fun that they have, and it's just the fun of being on that set and knowing that you're creating something that is going to be of entertainment to other people, and you're helping to create that, and you're literally getting paid for it, which is awesome. That's doesn't get better than that.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And like when you're sitting around for most of the day because you're just not going to have to shoot that long for like
Mhm.
the smaller stuff I've done.
Right.
I'm like, I'm getting paid for this. This is ridiculous.
No, I agree. Then you get to observe and just see what makes all those other actors great. So kind of talking about that, what are like one or two things that you've kind of noticed from being on those sets of the actors that are more established and are more well known? What are some things that they do that kind of separate themselves from other people?
Yeah, I think you hear this from anyone who's worked with, bigger name people, is like most of these A-list, like big celebrities are just great people. They know that they're number one on the call sheet, and when you're number one on the call sheet, everyone else is going to look to you to like be the leader.
Mm-hmm.
So especially when you got a guy, Nathan Fillion, who's the lead of the show, who's been around for 20 years basically doing his thing, who's executive producer of the show,
Mm-hmm.
like he is setting the standard. And when he's just walking along with some production person, some crew person, and he's like having a little moment with them,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, all right, he knows that what he's doing is like important,
It matters.
and that will lift up everyone else. So like, and just to make sure you're always keeping that perspective of like, we're getting to do what we love,
Mm-hmm.
and it can get tough and
Yeah.
hard sometimes, but
Definitely.
like, you got to enjoy it, because if you're not enjoying it, you're going to look back and be like, man, I just lost a total opportunity to be in the moment and just love what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're always so professional, so kind. They always make you feel so welcome. Like, another plug here, I was on Dave with my twin brother,
Yep.
and we go on set, and I mean, I admittedly didn't really know who Lil Dicky was, but which, I mean, most people, I was like, yeah, I'm on the show Dave. They're like, Lil Dicky's show,
Like,
what?
what?
I'm like, yeah, it's Lil Dicky, whoever that guy is.
You're like,
So,
okay, I'm
like,
just there to
you
get
go on
paid.
set-
I know who this guy is.
Yeah, no. No. Don't twist my words. So, yeah, you walk on set, and Lil Dicky Dave walks up to you and is like, "Hey man, like, hey, nice to meet you guys. Thank you for being here." He's like, "Thank us for being here. Like, thank you. Like,
Right.
you gave us this opportunity." But
Right.
it's always like they see it as, this is another person contributing to this art that we are making, this
Mhm.
TV show, this whatever it is,
Right.
and you're helping us with that, and thank you for doing that.
Mhm.
Um,
Just that
so it's
humility and
just,
kind of
yeah,
staying grounded down to earth is definitely cool to see. And if I feel like the ones that stay around and have that longevity have that humility and kind of down to earthness to a certain extent, at least, because that allows them not to get too big of a head and allows them to maintain doing what got them to that place. All the details, like you said, Nathan Fillion having a moment with some of the smaller crew production
yeah,
like people, and just realizing that all those little details will add up and contribute to the thing as a whole, which is going to help everybody further their careers. So no, that's some really good observations. So kind of transitioning to the outro, just want to say I've enjoyed this conversation. It's been great to kind of see your perspective on sides of things that obviously not a lot of people have gotten to see. So knowing what you know now, what's something you would go back and tell yourself as you came to the end of your high school or kind of student life as you're about to go into this phase out in California as an actor?
just to reassure that, like, you can't make it go any faster.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy the time, and I think I did, but just to really, like, just nail that home of, like, enjoy every moment in college, and, like, enjoy those classes, enjoy the friends, enjoy the work you get to do there,
Mm-hmm.
because that is a very particular environment, being in a theater school, working on your craft every day in a setting where, like, that's the expectation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just to, yeah, just not to worry about, like, anything really. Is just like, make sure you're just doing your best and being the best version of yourself, and yeah, again, everything will just happen, fall into place.
Mm-hmm. No, just staying kind of present, and by staying present, that allows you to control what you can control, which in effect will help you get to where you want to go, and kind of reply and respond to things that you can't control in a better way that's going to serve you as best as it can in those situations, for sure. So
Hmm.
before we get to the last two questions, I want to take a little bit of time to acknowledge you for for your accomplishments, one, but also your relationship with me. You're one of my first friends when I was the new kid at Williamston. And I mean, obviously that transition from being a homeschooled kid all the way to a public school can go very poorly in sometimes, but for me, thankfully, I'm grateful that it was a very smooth transition, and you were definitely part of that. So I want to thank you for that, but also for taking the risk of moving across the country to go after a career that you want, and finding success to this point with that is something that is commendable in and of itself, but also just like we've talked about, being able to overcome that initial adversity and still go after that dream because you have that conviction of knowing that you're able to do it, one, but also, like we also mentioned, the confidence to go out and take some punches, roll with them, and then continue to control what you can control and just continue to go on the way. So just wanted to recognize you for that, for sure.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you too, man. Because, like, yeah, man, I mean, I'm trying to go back to the recesses to, like, remember when you first came to school, but, like, it was just like you were always there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you probably felt that too. Is like you popped in and you fit in perfectly, and, like,
Definitely.
and you were one of the, not not to, like, like, be too grievous about, like, my experience in high school, because I did love it, but, like, out of our grade, like, what me and my brother were doing wasn't popular. So,
No,
like,
definitely not.
your support of that throughout high school
Mm-hmm.
was always very appreciated, and, like, you were just, yeah, you're just the coolest. So, like, I appreciate you too, man.
Well, I appreciate the words, but I'm definitely thankful for that we've been able to stay kind of in touch over the years, because I know that's something that's not very common with a lot of people you go to high school with, like you just kind of go your separate ways, and a lot of times you don't ever see each other again. But I'm thankful that we've been able to stay in touch, whether it's over kind of witty Instagram comments back and forth here and there, but then also just seeing the cool things that we end up doing and just being able to reach out and say, hey, like I saw you do this, like this is really cool. And just being able to have that relationship to where we can just do that is great.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Are there any, is there any social media you want to plug or any causes you're associated with you want to give some attention to?
I mean, Instagram, Brett.Schaberg,
Episode 3, Season 1 of The Rookie on ABC. You can find that on Hulu. Episode 4 of... Oh, wait. Yeah, Episode 4 of Season 2 of Dave on Hulu as well.
Go check those out.
And then, we got a show coming out this fall.
I like
Stay
it.
tuned.
I like it. That's what we like to see. Just continued success, building on it, and continue to make sure the best is yet to come. So, all right, the final 2 questions that I have for every guest. The first one is,
Yes.
what does a life well lived mean to you?
I've been thinking about this since I finished the episode that I was listening to earlier. A life well lived. I mean, yeah, again, at the end of the day, it comes down to the most important, which is my relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just living every day in a more God-like, Christ-like way. Not to mix the two together. Anyway, not to get into religious talk, but just to live by the example Jesus set, to love everyone, to just make the world a better place. And that's, Jesus says we don't light a candle and put it under a bushel. You use the light, you use the candle to be there for others, or just light up a room,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it might be, however you may interpret that. But just to be someone that you live a life, you live your life in a way that people come up to you and you're like, why are you like this?
Mm-hmm.
And then you can obviously share to whatever extent is comfortable, but just to set an example and be a good person. That's like, I just wish everyone could just be a better person.
It's true.
Because that would just solve so many problems.
Just being able to impact others in those little daily ways has way more impact than, we could ever know, because the ripple effect is crazy. No, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Definitely like that a lot. All right, last one. How do you want to be remembered after it's all said and done? Doesn't have to be at the end, but it could be by people that you know, people that you just come in contact with a little bit, people that you've worked with on set for a couple weeks and never see again. How do you want to be remembered when people think of, oh yeah, this was Brett Schaberg?
It's the same one I was thinking about. Well, I'm going to live to at least 500, so I'll be around
Naturally.
for a while. But I think, basically the same reasons I was just talking about in terms of like the impact I want to have. Is
Mm-hmm.
it's like, man, he was good at what he did. He was true to his convictions. He didn't buckle or cave, because like I never want to be the guy who says something and then unless I'm truly convinced otherwise or change my mind, I don't want to just be fickle and move. If fickle is the right word. I dropped out of college, all right? But just to stand up for what I believe and not be persuaded one way or the other by the world, because as we both know, is like the world's
Changes a
belief or
lot.
the world's opinions don't matter at the end of the day. It's what is the divine? What is God's view? What does God know as right? And the more I can understand what is right, the more I can do what is right, and the more of an impact I can have. So
I like it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Brett Schaberg, one of the best actors I know personally.
handsomest.
And handsomest. Much more handsome than Reese. Just
Yeah.
kidding, Reese. I wouldn't do that to you.
Nah, he's serious. He's for real.
But if you are still listening, thank you for listening. We have a lot more guests coming up that I really think you're going to enjoy. But until then, let's make sure the best is still yet to come. Brett, thank you again. We'll see you next time.